Hello and welcome to another edition of the NBA Outlet, presented by OTGBasketball.com. Be sure to follow OTG on Twitter at OTGBasketball. I'm your host, Nick Fay. With me, as always, Harris Wichard. What's up, Harris?
What's up, Nick? Been a little bit. Real excited to get going again with you and discuss everything that is NBA basketball, and also mention to Muhammad, if he's listening to this episode, to not mess with me anymore. Because anytime he attacks me on Twitter, something bad happens to his Memphis Grizzlies. Now, I don't wish injury upon anybody, but Muhammad went on a tremendous anti-Curry rant again, and it upset me very much, and everybody knows it upsets me, and Mike Conley is now out 6 to 8 weeks, so Muhammad has now learned that he will no longer, and it's only him, it's nobody else for some reason, that every time he attacks me on Twitter, something bad happens to the Memphis Grizzlies.
Yeah, Mom, and I guess stay away from Harris. Don't ignite the fire. But before we get started, I want to wish you a happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you. You too, man.
Yeah, so like you said, we took a week off. A lot of things have happened. Before we talk about that, I guess let's talk about last night, some of the games from this week.
Well, I haven't watched a ton as much as I usually do, but I was trying to fall asleep last night, and I kept getting updates on this Clipper-Nets game in Brooklyn. And your boy Sean Kilpatrick, the undrafted Cincinnati graduate, he was pretty good. 34 shots. I know he took a ton of shots, but he had 38 points, and that's always a nice story. But the biggest takeaway here is Doc Rivers maybe blowing a couple of gaskets and being as animated as you'll ever see an NBA head coach. And as this game goes into overtime, he was upset about a specific technical foul. And what did you take away from this ball game? Nets get a win in double OT, no Blake Griffin, but the main story has been Doc today.
Yeah, the main story definitely still going to be Doc, but I mean the Nets were on a 7-game losing streak that was started by the Clippers. It's nice to see them come out and play hard. Kilpatrick killed it. They also had a nice comeback. You know, they were down in this game, and I mean honestly, I thought they were going to get another loss. They come back. He has a big fourth quarter. Brook Lopez hit some big-time threes. He's been killing it from the three-point line. I think New York has 2 7-footers that are shooting over 38% from three. So that's something cool. But
you could say, like, oh, that hasn't happened since, but we know that's never happened. So keep going. We know that's never happened.
Doc Rivers, though, I mean, the man was pissed. I mean, he had good reason. I guess he was talking to the one referee, you know, discussing the call that she had made, and then the other referee comes along and gives him a T. He said he wasn't yelling at her. I mean, it's tough to say. He did cross half court, which is an easy way to give him a tech. But he was like, it looked like if he got loose, he might try to attack him.
Yeah, you know, is there a reality to, or is there truth to, the female ref in the Clippers? You remember Chris Paul had an incident a couple of years ago.
I mean, I think there was just a lot of, like, questionable calls in the game, missed calls at the end. I mean, personally, I thought Kilpatrick was probably fouled on one of the shots at the end of the game.
The first one he was fouled.
So, I mean, but, you know, you got to live with it. The Clippers kind of had that identity that they're always arguing with the refs, and that kind of hurts them. You know, they have plenty of players that like to complain, and, you know, it's going to come back and bite you.
When certain guys go down, we've seen it in sports before. Well, we see it all the time, and I mention it all the time. When certain guys go down, it's going to allow other players to take a larger role. And for Kilpatrick, with Lynn out, and there's somebody else out.
And Rondae's out.
Well, Rondae out, but it just seemed that he got more comfortable as the game went on. And he's in great physical shape. And he's one of those undrafted guys, and he posts about it all the time and how undrafted, how he feels slighted and whatnot. But to take 34 shots is obviously look and say, why is Kilpatrick taking 34 shots? I'm not criticizing him. It looked like he was the one guy that in all those big moments, you're probably not going to get out of Whitehead, although he played really hard last night. Kilpatrick is that guy that he doesn't care. And he has one of those jumpers that if he gets going, he can get very hot. I think he missed like 3 threes in a row in one of those overtimes.
He did.
And it didn't faze him at all. So I like Kilpatrick. He's the gunner. I know I always look to efficiency. It's not the most efficient stat line, but he's only a couple of shots away from 50%. Give him a lot of credit. And give this Nets team a lot of credit. Everyone around the league is starting to take notice. And what Rivers spoke about yesterday, what Doc Bobby Knight Rivers spoke about yesterday was that his team got a little comfortable, and you talked to me before the pod about the Clippers getting comfortable and thinking they're better than they are. There's a sense of arrogance with the Clippers that there's always kind of been there since Chris Paul's got there. They love to throw the alley-oop on you, Lob City this, Lob City that. Is there a sense of we're a little bit better than we are? You get that vibe from the Clippers?
I mean, I think they started off really hot, and things were going really well for them. They're hitting a ton of shots. They had this little rough stretch, and, they lose these 3 games, probably games they all should have won. I think they lost to the Pacers as well with no Paul George, if I'm not mistaken. So, I mean, then you lose to the Nets. I know Blake Griffin was out, but this is a game they probably should have won. They had, I think, a 16 or 18-point lead late in the game, late in the third quarter, early fourth. Yeah. So, it's disappointing for them, and then to see their coach do that, it doesn't really help anything. Obviously, they'll still be a good team. They'll still finish with a top 4 seed in the West, but they obviously have some issues to fix.
Yeah, now I also want to touch out, and shout out to Anthony Davis, who's done
monster stuff.
Everything in his power. There's a growth chart that they show on Davis, and from a guy who's grown late myself, I know a little bit about the late growth spurt. Anthony Davis is on pace to become Godzilla if he continues. It almost looks like he grows every year, and his game has grown a little bit. And he was banged up, and we mentioned on the pod I think last week about his health. And if he's healthy, man, this team is, I'm going to say the team is tough, but he single-handedly could win them games. And he's been able to do that. He was fantastic last night against the Lakers in a blowout win. And he's been everything you could expect of him, and then some. He's exceeded expectations, this season.
Yeah, and then you get Drew Holiday back, and if he comes back, he gets in rhythm, things start clicking. Tyreek Evans is going to come back. This is a team that maybe can compete for a playoff spot just because if Davis can stay healthy, he's a mismatch for everybody in the league. And he kind of starting to understand his game a little bit more and how he can attack defenses.
Yeah, and you said it. You made a good point about him being herky-jerky.
Yeah.
And I think muscle is obviously something that he's concerned about, I think. But in today's NBA, and I want to, as we get to the Shumpert comment about the hate and stuff, in today's NBA, I think he could just kind of get away with. He's not like he's weak.
Yeah, no.
He doesn't seem weak physically. What is it you think that sticks out to you that, I know you mentioned it on the last pod, but can Anthony Davis stay healthy for the long term? It's something that NBA fans really want to know.
Yeah, just being that long, and like I mentioned before, I think on another pod, is, he's going up and down. He's jumping higher than everybody else. So they're already down on the ground, and he's landing on these ankles. He's landing in awkward positions. He's getting fouled a lot because people can't keep up with him. So it's partially just, bad luck. And, I think he's added some good muscle since he's been in the league for sure. Maybe a little bit more, but like you said, you don't want to get too big, especially in today's NBA. You want to be able to run the floor, work from the perimeter too.
I want to talk about my boys today. I want to talk about my 2 best friends, Iman Shumpert and J.R. Smith. And what J.R. Smith did could get on a team that, with discipline, should get you benched for several games. And I know you posted it on. This is making me laugh because just thinking about this, and you know who sparked it? Who sparked it?
Your boy Jason Terry.
My boy Jason James, not Jason Terry.
Yes.
Unbelievable sequence of events. If you're an NBA fan, you got to check this out. This guy Jason Terry on the Milwaukee Bucks bench set up a meet and greet between him and J.R. Smith in the midst of a play that cost the Cavaliers a basket.
In a game they lost. In a game they lost.
I don't know what the score was at the time, but J.R. Smith, we've seen some bonehead things from him. We have. But he's also been awful on the court this season. Like, if you look at his statistics, you try him in fantasy, JR's got to have a big night. Because JR is streaky. And he's unpredictable, and you never know what you're going to get from J.R. Smith. One night he could be 0 of 11, the next night he's going to be 8 of 16, but you expect him to be on the court when he's supposed to be. Yeah. And Jason Terry, he conned him, because you look at the Milwaukee. There was someone on the Bucks who got up and almost celebrated what.
Yeah, no, they congratulated him. They're like, yo. That's a free bucket. Like, yo, that's so pitiful by J.R. Smith. Like, it's the most JR thing you'll ever see. But
yeah,
if I was a Cavs fan, I'd be tight.
You could say it. Say it.
Just bro, how do you do that during a game? And it's like not a game you were like killing it. If they were up by like 20 or 30, it's like a little bit more okay.
Yeah.
But, like, this game was close, and, like, you guys lost, and you're a professional NBA player, and you just got played. Like, you're right. I would bench him. I think Tyronn Lue had a meeting with him, but, like, if I was the team, I guess you can't really suspend him, but I'd just, like, bench him for a few games or – because, you know, if you weren't a good player, like, if J.R. wasn't talented, like, that's the type of thing that could get you cut. Yeah,
and you know what? He's gotten away with a lot. Somebody brought up J.R. Smith to me as their favorite NBA player. I was out on – and this is why I don't go out on Thanksgiving Eve for this specific – this is my response to him. J.R. Smith is the epitome of what's wrong with professional sports. I could do whatever I want. I could get away with whatever I want. Now I'm on LeBron's team. Thank God that headache is out of New York. And listen, I don't have anything personally against J.R. Smith, but you can't do this, what he did. And, like, LeBron should ream him out, too.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if he did. I mean, I'm sure LeBron had something to say to him. You know, like, you just can't do that. And, J.R., you know you've already had some, like, bad problems in the past. You know, people are like, oh, why have you done this? You know, blah, blah, blah. And, like, you think he'd starting to straighten up and realize, like, what's good. You know, you're on a championship team. Appreciate the opportunity. He's always been a guy in the NBA that, especially earlier in his career, it's like he has so much potential. He could be a star. I read a book, actually, the book that you gave me for my graduation. It had an article about J.R. Smith and how he was training, and, like, he just wouldn't show up for training one day, but he was just as talented as the star players in this league.
Right, and you know what? You hear about Allen Iverson, too, and this isn't Allen Iverson. Like, Allen Iverson, I mean, it's sad that certain guys have leeway over others because of their talent ability, and it's just that's just the way it works in life, I guess. But Smith has definitely gotten, for some reason, more leeway and pull. I guess it's because he has appeal, too. He's athletic. He could shoot the three. He's like an ooh-and-ah guy, and he just sometimes just doesn't get it. But
and, you know, defensive, I mean, like, coaches are just like, oh, maybe I can get the best out of him. You know, like, everyone thinks they can fix him.
Yeah, so I guess some things cannot be fixed. But Shumpert made a comment about bringing the hate back in the NBA. This is something that's been discussed at length and nauseum for years now about how soft the NBA's gotten. It's a three-point oriented league. It's, you know, guys don't bang. Guys don't bang in the paint anymore. Guys are they're friends. They go on banana boats over the off season. You know, it's all the lovey-dovey stuff. But the competition is healthy. The hate is a strong word. The competition is healthy. And my guy, Famous Losa, you know that crazy comedian on like does this stuff, the videos?
I do not.
I'll have to introduce you to him, but he talks about competition a lot. And he's obviously a comedian, so he makes it funny. But he made a point about Brandon Jennings and how he rah-rahs in people's face. I think there's a way to do it. I do. I think there's a way to do it. I think you could still be friends and respect each other, too, after it's all said and done. And one of my coaches used to say, when we step off the court, we're best friends. We can be great friends. When we step on the court, we want to be nasty. I always think there's still always going to be competitive edge. The rules could change. You can make it glamorous. You can make it an offensive sport. But there's always going to be that competitive edge what keeps people back to the NBA. And the offensive numbers are up. The hate is a strong word. I don't know if you're ever going to see the 90s again because the offensive numbers are so inflated and the money is so inflated. But I think Shumpert might be onto something. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, I mean, I think he's right. You can see a little bit more tension now, and, you know, everybody wants to win so bad, and these super teams kind of create hate. You know, like the Warriors, you know, everybody's kind of going after the Warriors. You know, you want to beat that team, you're like, yo, KD, really, bro? You left OKC to go there? Like,
yeah.
You know, you can see the hate there. Even the Cavs, I mean, they're somewhat of a super team themselves with the way Kevin Love's playing. So, like, I kind of like it. You know, I don't think they have to hate each other, but, like, get after it on the court. Don't be scared of anybody. You know, just go hard for the full game, 48 minutes.
Well, Butler made a commercial recently about all the super teams, and I think the super teams is also an overused word. And the reason I say that is because if I look in the 80s, and I look in the 90s, and I look in the 70s, the best teams had multiple Hall of Famers. I think now the way that rubs people the wrong way is it's the choice.
Yeah, no,
it's free agency.
Yeah.
It's, you know, it's not, you know, you're not grabbing because look what Boston did in '08. I mean, grabbing Ray Allen and Pierce, admit they weren't in their primes anymore, but those teams were kind of unfair in '08 and from 2000, like 7, '08, and 9 and stuff. So,
no, definitely. And then the Heat teams too. Like there's, you know, and that kind of creates hate and competition. And, you know, like everybody wants to win a little bit more. So, I mean, the NBA's in a good place right now, and I'm enjoying it.
Yeah, and listen, I don't Draymond Green and Whiteside have had beef. You know, I think that as long as the beef doesn't turn to like arenas beef, then there's like a level of beef, I guess, that you could be okay with. You obviously don't want it to turn violent. You don't want Melo and Garnett going to fight each other. You don't want those things to happen. But I think, like you said, the healthy competition and what you appreciate about the NBA that I think sometimes gets lost in the fact that we have a lot of finesse players in the league. And there's not as many Anthony Masons, rest in peace, Charles Oakley's, all those bruisers, the guys on the Pistons teams and the Sally and what was the big white guys?
Rick Ma.
No, wait. Hold on. I'll think of it. He coaches in the WNBA now. Let's see if we come up with.
I know. I went to a WNBA game. I know who you're talking about.
Yeah. Now my dad would get mad at me if he knew that I didn't know this right now. Well, I'm going to think about it while you get us to the next segment.
All right. So, I mean, anything other than those games last night we talked about? Well, also upon, the Cavs, Shumpert talking about that, the Cavs lost to this Bucks team at home. I mean, they lost by double digits, 17 points, and they gave up 118 to the Bucks. Are the Bucks getting better? Is it a bad loss for the Cavs? What do you think about the game?
Well, just let me say, I'm sorry. I want to apologize to Bill Laimbeer and all of his fans. That's who I was thinking of when I just blanked on the bad boys, and the bad blood that was in the NBA at that time when they tried to physically assault Michael Jordan. But this loss for the Cavs, and the Cavs are going to have some stinkers, and that's why when I pondered the idea of them possibly winning 70 games, I thought to myself, LeBron, if he wanted to do that, that was probably when he was 25, 26, 27. I just don't know if they want that grind, and I don't know if the Warriors want that grind either. I mean, that's a grind. And the Warriors look unstoppable at 16-2, but that's a serious grind to get to that level of win. So they're going to have some nights where they look like they did last night. I didn't see much of that game. The only clip I saw of it was the infamous J.R. Smith play. But, I mean, the Bucks are a solid team now, around 500, but could probably be a little bit better. Play decent ball at home. We like the Greek Freak. We like Parker, and we like other things about them. So I wouldn't look too much into this one if I was, a Cleveland Cavalier fan. The only thing I'd be concerned about is J.R. Smith and Shumpert sometimes to create this. They have some things that, would be distractions. Their shirts were off for 3 weeks after the finals, and and they were making fun and they mocked the whole 3-1 lead and stuff. So LeBron's the head of the throne over there. He'll reel those guys in. They'll be ready to rock playoff time. I just don't think at any point this season I'll look at the Cavs bearing a bad injury, and I hope that doesn't happen. But Kevin Love has gotten more comfortable. It took Bosh a lot longer than it looks like. It's actually, you know what? I don't know. I think there's very strong comparisons to be made to what Kevin Love's doing and what Bosh did. They should probably have each other's information, and I'm sure they may have actually discussed what it's like to be the third wheel on a team like this.
Yeah, I mean, I think the one difference between Love and Bosh, though, is Bosh's defense. He has a big impact defensively. I don't think Love will ever have the impact that Bosh had defensively.
Love could rebound, though.
He can rebound, but as a help defender, I don't think he'll ever be there. But that's okay. He can impact the game in other ways. Another good team that put up a stinker last night, the Spurs took a loss to Orlando, 95-83. And Orlando is not a very good team. Yeah,
that one makes you scratch your head. And I think Pop brought it up. One thing I want to talk about what Pop brought up, and this stems, and this seemed like to me a shot at Curry, and I'll ask you what you think about it. But Pop, obviously, we know he's an old school guy, and we know Tim Duncan wouldn't be seen in a nightclub if you paid him to go. So we know how black and white, and me and my friends used to joke all the time, is there a more fitting color for that organization than black and white? And we know they have quiet leaders, and we know they don't like to be on commercials, although they have a couple commercials, most of them local spots. There's nothing that's going to grab the attention. Nobody thinks that brand is exciting, but it wins. And they've gotten more exciting in the past, and Leonard, to me, is an exciting player. But Pop took a direct shot at the chest bumpers, the shimmy shoulder guys, the guys that are going for the camera. Do you think this is a direct – I don't know if you saw the quote, but –
I didn't see the quote.
The quote was along the lines of, we like our guys quiet. We like our guys away from the media. We don't feel the need to pound our chest, do the shoulder shake. A couple of words in there make you think of Curry do you think this is Pop's way of saying the NBA has gotten to, and I think the NBA has kind of always been, guys have always wanted to be flashy, but sometimes when you reel that in, the Spurs have such a great formula of success that I don't know if you could really come at Pop or mess with Pop, but do you think he's taking a shot at Steph or just generally the league?
I think it's more so the league. I mean, I think he mentioned Steph, but, you know, it's not like what the Warriors do doesn't work. You know, they had two of the best seasons in NBA history. So, I mean, like, you know, you can go with a certain mentality. Every organization's going to think differently. So I think, you know, it's fine that the Spurs don't like to have flashy guys, and it's fine that the Warriors don't mind having flashy players. So, you know, I don't think it matters. It's all in your mindset of what, you know, like the environment you're having around the team, the vibe of the team, the direction, you know. So I think he, you know, it's fine for him to say that. It's the Spurs. It's not like everybody's entitled to their opinion, you know.
Yeah, and I think anybody who's been really successful will tell you the same thing. Like, all these guys will probably tell you the same thing. It will get to your head eventually. I mean, some guys can be humbled throughout their whole careers. Like Tim Duncan in this day and age is a dinosaur. He's so rare, and it's almost mystical because guys get in front of those cameras, they love the attention, and they start having success. And I guess I never thought the Warriors were disrespectful, but then at times it became to me like they almost embraced it at a certain point. Like originally they were the new. I guess when you're growing up, you're a new kid on the block. Then you become successful. Then that was one title. Then there was another 73-win season. So I think during their 73-win season, they looked around. They were like, we're better than everybody. And I think Pop's mentality was, we can win as many games as we want, but we're always going to be over ourselves. And he's mentioned that before. Kawhi, you're not going to get Kawhi Leonard to pound his chest. You're just not. He's just not that type of guy. And we've come on to the show and talked about his lack of emotion before. And the fact that, you know, it's making Kawhi smile. He smiled quickly one time and then quickly stopped smiling. It was almost like it was a crime to smile. And I think there's a happy medium in it all. I think you could have fun with it and at the same time not be cocky but loosen up a little bit. I think Duncan really didn't play tight. So I just think there's a happy medium. And sometimes you disrespect your opponent and you say, if you could stop me, stop me. And I think obviously Beckham has a little of that in him. And I think there's a fine line, but I think some guys have given up on the role model thing and just want to do whatever they want to do.
Yeah, I mean, some guys are always going to be like that, and you can't control everybody, so whatever. Another guy that gets a lot of, you know, maybe could be kind of targeted to that, he shows a lot of emotion on the court, and he's currently averaging a triple-double. So I ask you, can Russell Westbrook average a triple-double all season long?
I want to shout out, because I know he's going to listen to it, he's a baseball friend. Anthony Vocatore is a big baseball fan, and we go to all these Met games together. And we spoke about it today, and he's like, see, I could contribute to NBA conversation also. So I'll give him a shout-out because he actually texted me and asked me this. He said, do you think Russell Westbrook can average a triple-double? And if so, can that translate to postseason success? So I want to give the big man a lot of credit on text me that, and I know he'll listen to this. But, yeah, I think he can. And if there's one guy that we knew had the potential going into the prime of his career that could do it, is definitely Russ. I mean, the guy is playing on a completely different level. And I think certain situations, I won't take anything away from him, but he has to. And if they're going to win, he has to. You look around that up and down that team, and Cantor was pretty good in New York the other night. I want to talk about that game for a second on Monday, the Thunder-Knicks game. But Russell Westbrook has to be on 100. His level of play cannot drop off at all, or this Thunder team will fall out of the playoff chase. Now, I don't see anybody challenging them down in the bottom of the West, but so I think we think they're a shoo-in for the playoffs. You agree, right?
Yeah, I would pretty much have. I have a hard time unless Westbrook were to get injured, because I think this team makes a move too. I think this team adds some scoring.
They have to compensate for him.
Yeah, so I think they add some scoring. I think they'll make the playoffs. I don't think they'll be as high as we quite thought in the beginning. Oladipo's taking a little bit of time to sink in. Adams is doing well. Cantor's giving a nice boost off the bench, but they still need more scoring from the wing. And obviously, if Cameron Payne comes back, that'll help him out a little bit. But there's a lot of issues offensively, and that's why Westbrook has to score so much. He has to get so many assists. And the rebounds, you know, it's kind of surprising averages over 10 rebounds because Adams and Cantor both rebound pretty well. So, I mean, that's going to be tough, but I mean, if there's a guy that can do it in the NBA, I think Westbrook would be the guy.
Well, I think he just kind of deserves an MVP. I think that, not to say he's going to get MVP by default, but if his team if they win 45, 50 games. I think you just have to give him one because he's been loyal to that franchise. He busted his butt. I think what's come out of all this is that people are starting to realize how hard he plays every night. That's become a reality on a lot of coaches' clipboard and playbooks. And I guess what I'm trying to get at is that a lot of coaches are speaking more about it now because I think they're realizing now, after Durant's gone, what a maniac this guy is in a positive way.
Yeah, his effort is ridiculous, and
true.
And I hate that people try to say like he pads his stats and like things like that. Like, no, Westbrook is like a competitor. He's trying to win the game. Yeah, maybe he might try to grab more rebounds or something, but like he's still trying to attack the ball. He's leaving it all on the court every night. Like I would take Westbrook.
If anything, you could kind of critique him as maybe some shot selection, but
yeah, that's about it. But like he earns it. It's kind of crazy because he obviously is frustrating when he takes those threes sometimes and he doesn't drive to the rim. But, like this guy's putting so much on the floor that he kind of earns to take some bad shots. Obviously, you never want to say that, but he plays so hard, like he hits some of these terrible shots sometimes.
Well, I went 25 minutes or so without mentioning Carmelo. And the only reason why I want to talk about it now is because I don't want to be anti him, but on Monday night, you saw like what you could live with if you play the other end. Like Westbrook fans Thunder fans can live with those bad shots because he's busting his butt on both ends. He's the leader. He's the general. He's guarding your best player at some nights. He's really locking guys up. He's rebounding, like you said. He's getting up and down. He's doing so many things that he can make up for 3 or 4 bad shots. When Porzingis was getting going the other night and Rose wants to ignore him or Melo wants to ignore him and they take a couple bad shots, the frustration level is going to be higher because you said, listen, that's a winnable game for the Knicks down the stretch the other night. It's a game at home you should have. They had the Thunder on their heels with a couple minutes left in the fourth quarter, and I think that's what's going to keep the Knicks from being a good team. They're solid now. They want to take the next step, and you look at how many holes they have to make up for if guys aren't going to get after it on the other end, and you can never, to me, be upset with Westbrook because his effort level is always going to be 110%, and he can make up for 4 or 5 bad shots with a couple of steals, like I said, filling the passing lanes and everything else that he's been doing at such a high level this season.
Yeah, exactly. What do you think? I mean, we talked about Porzingis last show, but he's continued his hot stretch. What do you think about him? Like, the Knicks need to kind of, like, you think that Melo and Rose are getting frustrated? They're not giving the ball enough, or?
Well, the Knicks are 7-3 at home and 1-6 on the road, and that's a bad sign early. Playoff teams and good basketball teams could be 500 on the road. I know it's only 17 games in. I expect the Knicks to play pretty well in Minnesota tonight and possibly win that game. But the staple of a good, solid team is a team that could win 60 to 70% of their games at home and half on the road. The staple of a veteran-led team, which the Knicks are. The Knicks are young, but they have veterans on their roster. Melo's been in the league for 13 years. Rose has been in the league for 7 or 8 years. Noah's been in the league for 8 years. They have guys on their roster. They have some young guys, too, but Jennings has been around the block. They have some veterans that should understand how to close games out, and they've had some games slip away that they should win early. But I think the level of and this is actually a topic of conversation in New York a lot. A lot of people want to speak about, and even Porzingis now been asked about it. Melo's not going to appreciate these questions. He doesn't want to hear about that. And I told you this could be an issue. As soon as Melo, like Dwayne Wade realized it, as soon as the guy who was eventually the man realizes that the other guy might have to get a little bit more shots, might have to get a little more offensive attention, once that light bulb goes off, the Knicks could take off, in my opinion. I think as soon as that and Melo is a very solid offensive player. Do I think he's what he was when he was in Denver or his first couple years with the Knicks? No. So I think as soon as Carmelo, that light bulb goes off, and he goes, man, this kid's special, let me score with him, but let him get some shots in the fourth and down the stretch, the Knicks could be a top 6 team in the Eastern Conference.
Yeah, no, I mean, Porzingis is definitely the future.
Yep, and I don't know. So I don't want to continue to harp on the same subject, but it's frustrating because they have the piece there. That's a cornerstone piece, and we spoke about it several times. We believe that's a cornerstone piece.
Yeah, for sure. So you want to talk about the movie thing?
Yeah, let's. Well, I just think holiday season. We're coming into December now. It gets everybody, I think, in a better mood. It gets everybody holly jolly, all the songs start coming, all the holiday movies. Obviously, we're doing a basketball podcast, so I want to ask my man Nick Fay, first his favorite basketball movie, and then second, his favorite holiday movie. I have both of mine lined up. I want to ask you if you have anything that comes to mind.
For basketball, I'll probably go with Coach Carter.
Okay.
You know, that I thought
Samuel L. Jackson?
Yeah, I really liked that movie. I thought that was definitely some good stuff. Christmas movie. Let me go. You go say your two. Let me.
Yeah, you can think Christmas. That was the bonus questions. You don't have to necessarily answer that. Basketball movie. Obviously, there are a couple of classics, and Glory Road is talked about a lot. But I feel like if I didn't say Space Jam, I would be disappointing a lot of my younger fans because it's such a classic, in my opinion. A little Looney Tune action, but I don't know. I think there's a couple other ones out there that we don't think about that.
Space Jam is great, though. I mean, you can always watch that.
Yeah, that's. I like the ones that are based off true stories, also, and so that I mean, I feel like a lot of the guys today don't like Hoosiers. I think that's more the old school, and every motivational great person talks about that scene in Hoosiers. It's a 10-foot basket, blah blah blah. So I think that kind of gets overplayed a lot and outdated a lot. So, I mean. I don't know. I think I would say Space Jam, but I know I'm missing a couple and Glory Road is obviously a great one. Coach Carter's a great one. Coach Carter to me is like the Remember the Titans of basketball movies.
Yeah, that's a good comparison.
But I don't know how obviously how everyone knows my favorite holiday movie is going to be Elf with Will Ferrell.
Elf, that's a good one. That one is mad funny. Like you can always, that's on. You can just get a quick laugh all the time.
Yeah.
Honestly, it's like tough for Christmas movies for me.
Christmas with the we actually have mentioned before about the Turbo Man movie, and Arnold Schwarzenegger, and I can't remember the name of that either.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. I'm just gonna have to. I'll check this one next episode.
Yeah, we're gonna Jingle All the Way was the name of that.
There you go.
With the movie with Arnold Schwarzenegger, so that's always a good one. And we're going to have to, you know what, this has made me, motivated me to kind of, maybe that's something that we do on the website. He Got Game, obviously, a great movie. Blue Chips. I don't know if all you guys out there have seen Blue Chips with Shaq and the whole recruiting scandal. Love in basketball, white man can't jump. So there's obviously a lot of good ones out there. And we know about Ray Allen in his Jesus Shuttlesworth and He Got Game. So anytime there's an NBA player,
it makes it that much cooler. Yeah,
I think so. And the air up there about that like African guy that they bring to America, and he goes out there and recruits them. And the Sixth Man is pretty good with the Wayans brothers. So there's some good ones out there. I'm gonna have to say Space Jam. I think that's an all-time classic. I think Michael didn't want to do a second one, but now they're gonna obviously bring LeBron in to do the second one and ruin it and try to be Jordan even more. So
I mean, I think it still could be good with LeBron. I mean, it won't be as good. I mean, it's hard to, reenact something like that with a different character later down the road. But, I mean, there's still some hope.
There is some hope. And I don't want you – wait, you said Glory – so I'm going to go with Space Jam and you're going to go with Glory Road, right?
No, I went with Coach Carter.
Oh, you went with Coach Carter, right. All right, and then the holiday we'll get back. I want to do a little bit, maybe on OTG, we might poll some people on some movies, but Frank, I don't know. You look at some of these corny websites and they put Space Jam 9, so I'm upset now. He Got Game 1? I don't know. There's a lot of controversy in that discussion.
Some serious conversation right now, but that wraps it up for today's episode. Thank you, everybody, for listening. Great show, Harris, and thanks, everybody, for the comments, the likes, the subscriptions. It all helps.
Thank you, yeah. And I want to shout out all the younger fans and all the Game 7 crew and all the family and friends that have supported me and Nick, trying to make it in the podcast world and doing what we love, talking about hoops. So all the support out there is definitely helpful from the writers, anybody retweeting, tweeting the show, and every question, comment. We love it all. So just talking about hoops, talking about what we love. Everybody enjoy your week, and we'll see you next time.